What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by the brand new PFL signing, Caolan Loughran, today. Caolan, how are things? You must be delighted. You weren't long out of the UFC, and you were straight in there with PFL. The big night, obviously, up in Belfast, and you were raring to go after that. How are you feeling now, a week or so out from that?
Very good. Well, the song that I had known a while before that, this was how it was going, but I had to get it announced and stuff. Very good. Busy now, a few days. A lot of the PFL have put me on a lot of these things that are waiting for them all to come out. But no, good. Got a good reaction, like, so happy.
When it was announced, it was above a Belfast and that amazing night, and like you did the scrum afterwards, and you were saying like, Jesus, this is why I did it, kind of, and this makes me even happier with my decision. How good is that, like, to almost immediately, obviously it's a major decision in your life, how good is that almost immediately have like, oh Jesus, that was that was the right decision and I haven't even started yet?
Yeah, well, just timing how it worked out probably couldn't have went much better. I mean, there couldn't have been only getting into the cage probably would have been the only better case scenario than being in Belfast, but just how it worked out, it definitely put a nice like spin on things, and got to meet like a lot of, like, Paul will have a lot of the same supporters that I would have. I go into a lot of people in Belfast have been following me for a long time, so I just got to meet even before the event around Belfast that day, just meeting everybody, and everybody started to get away from people, started to guess. I was like, no, I don't know. So just pulled away, but then just the way it worked out, it was definitely put a nice spin on it, like.
You were kind of alluding to it, how it happened. Obviously, you were with the UFC. We might get into that in a second and stuff. But how did it come about? You said you knew for a while before. When kind of did the talks at PFL start, and when was it all signed and sealed?
I think the Thursday after UFC London was the first time we started to talk to Sean Shelby about it. I was obviously I had a 4-fight contract with the UFC, and that win against Fletcher was the 4th fight on my contract. And initially there was a bit of a pushback on like just re-signing me, and it really rubbed me up the wrong way. Not even like this, but just like I was kind of, what? And then it was sort of like talking back and forth, and it started to get quite positive, and I had no ill will or anything out there. It was going good. They then re-signed Morgan Sharia, who had a 4-fight contract. He'd fallen the same show as me, just off the back of a loss. Like, all right, everything's looking good here. And then it's the PFL. Started becoming a case of when I'd be like, they'd be looking to match me, and there was a numbers thing and all this here. And I was like, I'm young, I'm healthy, I want to compete very soon. I don't want to be stepping. I want to fight now, really. And I went straight to Dan Hardy, and then it became. I was talking to Dan Hardy. We were talking to you at the PFL for a wee while. They were very interested. It was just like a case of when I could get match, when I could be in, and then at this time we were still kind of half talking to the UFC, and then boom, it came out that the what do you call the UFC roster watch had been that I was out of contract, and then every offer came in from across the from all around the world, really. And but by that time I had decided I was going to sign with the PFL. I was quite annoyed when that came out. I was like, fuck's sake, I would have liked to have announced it on my, but that's just how the fight game works out, I suppose. It was an interesting, from that when that UFC roster was came out until the PFL Belfast show was great crack, I must say. I actually found it very interesting. It's a side of the game that I never really had any. You think you know, but you don't know. You're just like seeing these contract stuff come in, and I actually found it very interesting, to be honest. And just to try to one day I was on my phone for like with ChatGPT for like 8 hours, just searching these, just everything like viewership, who the champions were, fight contracts, purses, all these. I just really went into it, like just try to like evaluate all these options. And but having said that, I was pretty much set. I'd seen some really good stories in the PFL, and very quickly I became unbelievably motivated to do good things in the PFL. My mind was pretty much made up, but it was still great crack.
When you get an offer like that, we'll go through a couple of them in a second. But like, let's say I don't know, pick a like one championship reach out to you. What is that initial like email, or is it like, here, Caolan, we'll give you 50 grand, do you want to fight, or is it like, here, would you be up for the challenge of coming to what way does it work?
Well, you said one. They're the only major promotion in the world that didn't try to sign me. Funnily enough,
that's a good one to use. So.
They're the only ones who didn't, which actually half annoyed me. I was like, why the fuck do they want me?
They're not doing much MMA anymore. Don't worry. All right.
Yeah. No, it was just everything. But really, what I was offered, I haven't really said this, but I told you, I got offered to fight Mohammed Mokaev on 971. Well, not offered. I got inquired. Would I be interested to fight Mohammed Mokaev? But I think he's fighting a guy on it, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah. But that was just going to be like a one fight deal. So I wasn't really. I was thinking long term, bigger picture. Like Octagon were on. None of them. The only one who actually I'd never even heard of the show was RCN or RNC or something. Do you know it?
No, I don't think so.
Never heard of it. No. Never heard of it. Funny, but they were the only reason I found it half appealing because they were offering me a title fight in a football stadium in Prague,
right.
And I was like, that I am fully intending to go to the PFL. That's what I want to do. But like, I was just thinking of the crack and the scenes of fighting in a football stadium for a title in the middle of the summer. I was like, me taking my mates over there, a bunch of fucking Eastern European skinheads, be mental, be fucking lethal. But I don't even know what the promotion is. But the dough was good. I actually got offered more money, like short term, from Russia and everything, that I could have went short term bigger fights. But my mind was pretty much set up. It was the PFL. Unbelievably happy with the contract I've been offered with the PFL. I kind of see it. I literally have 5 fights that completely changed my life. Well, maybe 6, but like I'm in next year's World Series. I've got about 18 months to put my head down and make like £1 million. Like it's a fucking no brainer. It's a fucking no brainer. Like it's a no brainer.
Is it funny because a lot of the chat, and I think rightly so for a lot of people, maybe you're a special case because you're like young and you came out of the UFC on a win and you're 10-2, like a really good record, but like there seems to be the thought now, if you get out of the UFC, it's a tough world. Like when GFL half died there, everyone was like, what are all those fighters going to do? Where in God's name? Say like a guy like Kai Kamaka, a good honest pro, like where's he going to sign? Like, yeah, like your experience was the complete opposite to that. Like, would you kind of suggest to people in your boat to maybe have a go at that, or what would be the advice to people?
I suppose I was in a rare position that I was like, because whenever like the UFC, the cut of the boys then was like 37-year-olds on 4-fight losing streaks, on 3-fight losing streaks, and that is a hard position for anyone. Like, that is a hard position. I suppose I come out, the biggest show has been in Europe this year was UFC London. I come out of it in a big win. It was the second fight of the night, but because of that row with like Paddy and stuff, the place was fucking rocking. Like I'm in a rare position to most people, but it's definitely worked out well for me. Like again, potential. If I do my side of the game and win financially, definitely. But I can only speak from my case. I see a lot of guys are coming from the PFL into the UFC now, and they're probably getting a motive, like they're probably lifted from that. But I've got a whole new sense of energy here because I say I've got like literally like 5 fights to change my life, like completely, Sean. So like that's given me a whole new lease of life towards this game. I am not gonna be one of these guys like. See these like guys 37, 38 hanging about in MMA. Like I can't do that. Like I don't know how they do that. I'm after turning 29 there last week. If I got the 34 even, that'll be it. Like so yeah, I'm thinking get paid and win a PFL world title, and that very much is in my hands, very, very much possible, and can happen very, 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 very quickly, as I see it,
just ask you before we go to the future, just on the Fletcher fight for a second, because it's funny. Like when you got into the UFC, we had a chat about it on this. I could ask you, was it a bit too early? Because you're very young in your career, and obviously you had a few, even before you got to Cage Warriors, you had a few short notice fights that aren't, not really real fights, as we talked about before. You come into the Cage Warriors, you proved immediately by winning the title that you were an exceptional fighter, but. Like usually a guy like you would be getting signed to the UFC now or going to the Contender Series now, yet the UFC after the Fletcher fight didn't re-sign you, or well you were in negotiation, didn't like go over and above to re-sign you. Do you find that a bit weird? Like the fact that they signed you early, you had a couple of tough fights, but you had a couple of wins as well, and now you're at a place where maybe you could go on that 4 or 5 fight win streak. That it's like if you, let's say you hadn't signed for the UFC, you were still in Cage Warriors, they'd be biting Cage Warriors' hand off to sign you right now. Was that kind of a part of why you were kind of not really happy with the UFC as well? That like you I've done everything you've asked me, now is my time to shine, yet you're not fucking sticking your neck out to re-sign me here.
Of course, and like I'm not here to burn bridges with anybody. Like who knows the future could hold? Who knows what? Like my brother's coming up. I'm not here. The UFC or the UFC. Every young lad coming up is going to have them 3 letters. That is what it is. There's some things that going on in the UFC that I don't really understand at the moment. Like they want these guys, like some of the guys on Contender Series, the minute are fighting. Like the days even going to Cage Wars, I wouldn't even recommend it anymore. A young lad fight on a fucking. Well, not that I wouldn't recommend it. Like it's just what is the point in challenging yourself? Basically, you can fight an abs couple of dung bags, you can get to like 6-7-0, and then you can get on to Contender, and then. But then you're going there with like little experience. It is hard, and then maybe you won't win, and they won't want to re-sign you. There's a few things going on in the UFC at the minute, like Mozart Vloyev not fighting for a title. It's just weird. I just don't really understand what they're. I do understand their whole motive is based around making 3-second reels and selling that. That's what their seems to be their what their business plan is going forward. They want a highlight reel or a clip of you talking, and that's basically what they're trying to push. Which here, I'm not gonna fucking, I'm not gonna argue with them. But there's just a few weird things that are coming up. I can only speak personally and how I've been treated in the first month or so as a PFL fighter and how I can be treated. Now, obviously, someone like me and someone like maybe Ilya Taboria, they're getting treated. You know what I mean? Not everyone's the same, but I can only speak for me personally, and it's been fucking deadly the first month in the PFL. Anyway, I know that much.
Like with the UFC, was there a lot of back and forth conversations, or was it kind of like they left you for a while, you decided to sign for the PFL? What way did it work?
There was back from like almost immediately. From like I think it was the Thursday after UFC London's when we first started talking to them, and I was just like basically just holding off and holding off. Again, I don't want to go. I don't want to burn bridges. I've no. This is the fight business, lad. If any young fighters watching, like, you have to be just emotionless to this game. You have to be just like expect. I think that's not even just fighting, that's just professional sport. You see like young lads coming up in these documentaries and like NFL playing for Liverpool, these teams. Just expect basically it's a cutthroat game and nobody gives a fuck about you. You are a number on the payroll. Taking last minute fights for a promotion will not benefit you. It doesn't benefit you to do it. It only won't benefit you to not do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You have to just be basically emotionless to the lows because they're coming. But again, it got very positive, and I could only speak for how I was being treated and how I felt really valued on one side. Like, and again, I said in the scrum, I was like, maybe that shouldn't matter, and like maybe business should be business. But the way I just came into it, I was like these people are just being so nice to me. They're just being so dead on. They firstly couldn't understand why I was coming to them, but they're like, and then they're just they're just presenting like they're put me on the fucking red carpet and saying, here we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, and I was like, I'm definitely signing. This is a no brainer. This is a no brainer. You know.
Last thing on the UFC, and just feel free to answer this as quick as you want. They did offer you something in the end? Would that be correct? Like the UFC offered to re-sign you, but you chose to go with PFL. Would that be correct, or is or they
The
didn't?
last few emails I had been when Sean Shelby was getting positive, and I had been on the Dan Hardy. That's the truth. There was no official contract come in because I had kind of I had made my mind up type thing, you know.
But do you reckon, like, if you hadn't signed for PFL, they would have offered you to come
I
back?
do think so, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. Around the time they re-signed Morgan Shari around that time, and he had just come off a loss on the same 2-2. So that was about a month after, or a couple of weeks after I had first started talking to him. So I do think so. But here, who knows? But we're gonna win this PFL belt, Sean. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
where the head's at.
All right, one last thing before we get to PFL. You mentioned the Makayev one, and it's funny because you hinted it in that scrum, and I know you had the mind made up on the PFL, but there's always been a bit of back and forth between, I'll be honest, Makayev and maybe everyone around the scene. Was there ever a temptation? Oh, jeez, I'd love to have a crack off him.
There was but the money wasn't quite like they basically said to start, how much do you want, and then I was like, but then they came back and it wasn't that deadly. I was like, it's kind of like for a one fight deal. I was like, nah, I wasn't really that interested. If I had been like, if I was offered to fight him here now in the PFL, I'd be straight on it. But honestly, in that show, I wasn't really interested. No, not really.
Fair. Here's a question before we get into who you're fighting in the PFL and the global tournament and all that. Right, so Paddy McCarry fought at the weekend, right, and he was in a very similar position. In 100%, from maybe a different reason than the fighting, but we that maybe that's another podcast for another day. But so, like, I was talking on the podcast about it the weekend, and I looked at Paddy, and I looked, let's say your situation and Paul Hughes' situation. Like, I think you're a better fighter now after 4 fights than you got into the UFC. I think those 3 or 4 fights that Paul had trying to get to the PFL made him ready for AJ McKee, made him ready to fight for the title. If you're like Paddy now, he's not had, okay, he fought James Webb and he fought in Tough, but he's not had that title fight. He's not had that big fight. If you're giving him advice right now, and I know it's tough because, like, maybe you get a 20 grand or 50 grand offer or whatever it might be to go to the UFC or to go to the PFL, would you have any advice for him to, like, gain more experience before he goes there, or would you tell him, fuck it, just go there right now?
I would have to go for, like, as me personally. And also, I don't know, he's a middleweight, which that does help, for being brutally honest. There's a lot of strikers that he will outstrike in the middleweight division, the bottom of the UFC. It's a no risk, no reward game, really. Suppose you could stick about PF. Maybe his coaches would be smarter than me, and they would tell him to stick about. But if it were me, I'd say fuck it, go fight them, because there's guys like that, Shara Bullet and all, getting the push in the middleweight division, and they're very, very beatable. So I'd say go for it, lad, if it was me. Supernova, burn bright, die young.
Okay, you're probably the wrong person to give advice.
I say so, lad.
I'm here trying to, like, here's how to do it the right way. Like, no, just go for it. But yeah. So you said you want to stay active, but you want to be in the global tournament, and that won't be starting for obviously another 8 or 9 months at this stage. What do you want next? What do you want to do? The global tournament, when is it, March or April, whenever it is next year. Between now and then, plan out what you want to do.
So I have 2 options. I have 2 showcase fights, which I would love to do. Or if someone gets, now this would be seen as a step back, which I understand. If someone gets injured in the European series this year, I've told the PFL I'll do that. People would see going from the UFC to European, I've, like, surpassed that level, and in a way, I probably have. Maybe I have. But one thing I haven't surpassed is making about $250,000 between now and Christmas. So I don't give a fuck if I've surpassed that level. People say, oh, it's a risk you could be in next year's World Series. I don't even see that as a fucking risk. I'd fight them boys with one hand. I had no problem fighting that level and getting 3 more fights this year, and getting 3. The way they've changed their format, the way they've changed their setup now, it's not just you're competing. It used to be you're fighting for the mill. You're basically banking on winning it to make the money. Now you've got your PFL contract, 3 good paydays, plus the 500k if you're in the World Series, or you've got 3 paydays plus the 100k in the European. So the way I say it, I would 100% be active. I am training for July 5th, the first round of that European series. If someone gets injured, that's what I'm training for. I'm just saying, as I'm in camp, and I say I could fucking bank out 3 fights this year and make $250,000 now Christmas. That sounds, well, not quite, but just over 200 odd K. That sounds happy to me. That sounds fucking deadly to me. them very active going into next year's World Series. If that doesn't happen, no, you're basically. I don't want anyone to get injured in that tournament. This is fucking anyone can make a point. But if that doesn't happen, it's 2 showcase fights this year, and I'm down for anyone first. But someone that I would like to the McGrill fight was there. Of course, I'll fight him. I'm not really fucking that bothered. Like, everyone keeps. I don't really. Not that bothered. I would take him, of course. But someone I'd like to fight is if Paul's rematch in Usman, I want on that card, and I'd like to fight Kasumov. He was fighting in Dublin. I think it was the show that Hughes fought Green, your boy King. What do you call him? Oh, sorry, Bobby King.
Yeah.
And they were talking to him that time was the number one contender for Pachi's title that time. I mean, Pachi would have absolutely destroyed the guy, if I'm being brutally honest, but that's the position they were talking about. So he's up high up in the division. He's just come out of the first round of the World Series, so he's free, and he's training from the Nurmagomedov school. So if Hughes is fighting Usman, I'll jump on that card and fight him 100%. It's a big name. He's a guy upper echelon of the division, so that's someone I would like to fight. And if they want to slot in a match to show, I'd fight McGrillen as well. 2 big fights this year. That would be pretty back to back. So I want at least 2 showcase fights, which is what I've been told, or the European series, either or. Because this is again the casual fan. You couldn't really explain this to someone. If I was going from fighting Nathan Fletcher to fighting fucking Magomedov in next year's World Series, people think, oh, you're going from the UFC to the PFL like casual. That is a massive jump in opposition. Like, that's a massive jump in opposition. So I want to be fucking active going into that. I want to be flying the best form of my life. Like, I don't want to wait from now to then. So I want to be fighting good level competition, going into it in the form of my life, and ride rock next March to change my life. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
Does, you know, you said you jump into the European series. There's a World Series going on as well at the moment, and I know there's a few, you know, the people who obviously already lost there, but would you be willing to jump into that if the opportunity arose as well?
Absolutely, 100%. But the problem is there already is an alternate fight. So
yes, yeah.
You'd need someone from that to get injured. Then Magomedov is fighting. He's fighting the boy Hadley was meant to fight, the good 16-0 Tajikistani. So I'd need someone from those semi-finals to get injured. I'd need Magomedov to get injured and the Tajikistani to get injured. But fighting's weird games. You never know. But I would do it. But I just don't see how that could happen. You know what I mean?
I want to jump back to those fights in a second, but I also have another option for you, because, like, in most of the divisions now, like say the middleweight tournament gone on, the winner of that, we have Johnny Eblin there as the champion. I know he's another fight coming up, but go with me for a second. And the winner of that will probably fight Johnny Eblin. Patchy Mix was the champion at 135, and now obviously he's gone. So we will have a champion in a couple of months' time, and they'll be looking to fight someone. Would you be willing to fight that person? Let's say Jake Hadley. Obviously, there's a bit of history there. Would that be an option for you as well? Would you like to do that?
Well, fuck, you'd be cutting the queue. And you'd be into that champion clause. Like, I have the same manager as Dakota. Like, I know the contract she's just signed there, or the fucking, I know the money she's on. Like, she's like that champion clause. Patchy told me personally, like, as soon as I get announced, he told me what you can make here. And Dakota made this as on the same. And I was like, holy fuck. So if that was possible, Jesus Christ, absolutely, I would do that. But that's the way it's filtered out. Is like the winners of the European are going to on European, the man of the Austria, they're going to go into the world, and the winner of the world is going to challenge the champion series, the ultimate champion, really. So it's actually quite a cool filter system. You've always got a goal to work towards. I actually really like it. I don't know if because I haven't really been watching them. Honestly, like previously, I always followed like Brandon, and she did all the big fights in the PFL, but I hadn't watched it to the same detail as I have this year. The first round of that PFL World Series across all weight classes was fucking. It was unreal. It was unreal. The finish is the level of fighting, really, 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 really high level. But oh geez, if I could cut the queue and just slaughter it in that title fight, you'd be fucking laughing.
Back to McGrillen for a second, because there seemed to be a lot of hype around that. It was funny after he fought, and it was around the same time he fought, and you were announced, and obviously you were supposed to face off, but it didn't end up happening. I kind of tweeted, "Oh, I'd love to see Caolan versus McGrillen," and then like it basically is like, "Oh, it's already planned." What, like, he likes to talk a lot. You know, you've a word to say as well. Sometimes, like the build up to that fight would be amazing, wouldn't it? Like you seem not too fussed about that. Isn't that one you'd be delighted to have now?
Absolutely, 100%. That's what's next. That's next. I tried to put it on the PFL immediately, and I didn't hear anything back that there was that they wanted that to be done. I mean, I've trained with Lewis. I'll fight him like no problem. I know who's gonna win that. Like, but if he wants to do it, let's do it. I mean, we can do it in September. There's talk again. This is not me like holding back. I genuinely don't know. I always keep seeing people saying like, because I haven't announced what that September show is. They're calling for it to be in Manchester. It would make sense. They could do Lewis on it. They could do Brandon Loughnane on it and stuff. The only thing is, I wouldn't want to wait to September. But if it was going to be September, and then a guarantee of another fight, maybe if I don't know anything, like if Hughes was fighting Usman October, November, whatever it was, if I could do September, then I'll do that 100%. I'll fight Lewis McGrillen in Manchester, and you can boo me out, and very, very quickly the boos will be silenced, because if I grip him anywhere, grip a hand lock anywhere, I don't know, I'm ultra confident that I'll submit him, put it that way.
So the goal is obviously get those two fights. The global tournament next year, like the tournament's interesting now. Obviously, I know you said you weren't watching it before, but like before it used to be 2 fights. You might or might not get through. Then you'd have a knockout fight. Would you prefer that, or do you like the straight knockout the way it is now?
I like the knockout, to be honest. I like the new format. It's also 3 fights is like ideal, isn't it? It's the way they scheduled the March, June, December. That's like ideal. And I fuck the backdoor system. Same in football. You want the straight knockout, isn't it?
I don't know.
No, I like it. You're fighting for everything. Like there's no the points and all, just the way it is. Quarterfinal, semi-final, final. I think it's good, and also the way that again the fighters are well paid throughout the competition, like really well paid out the competition. I think it's a deadly format. One of the hardest things to win in all of sport. It has to be like.
I saw, this is a very right turn here, but I saw Paul Hughes in his vlog the other day doing a bit kicking a bit of football and doing a bit of hurling. Like,
was it?
I feel like there might be a bit of a match up here. The two of you can go, a skills test in hurling and football or something. Or, yeah, I know you.
I don't have the knees for it anymore, lad. If I had one ball, I used to play corner forward. One ball came into the full forward line, I'd be out, done.
What about the hurling? Did you ever play a bit of hurling?
Oh jeez, no hurling, no hurling throw. Now, I'm Landy. I did not play hurling, but I used hurling to get out of school when I was in the school team. I used to lie and say I played hurling, but I didn't. I never went through just to get out of school.
We all did that one. It's
football man.
Paul's not bad at the old hurling now. He hit over 65 in his vlog. Now it was a highly edited, so but he did, yeah. So not bad now at all. Not bad. Tyrone, they're going to win the All Ireland this year.
Do you know what? You can get us 8-1. Sheehan and the bookies. I think it's a very open championship, because we're off the back of a big win there against. I say thrown off the back of a big win against Donegal there, but then they lost to Mayo. I felt like it almost went to their heads. They were sleeping for the first 20-30 minutes. It's a very, very open championship. I think it'll come to Ulster, though. I do think it'll come to Ulster. Tyrone, Donegal, Armagh, even potentially Derry. Well, they're slipping, but I do think it'll come to Ulster, definitely. I think Tyrone, the way they've got some of the young forwards come through and Tyrone, McElhone and Shanavan, and these boys are absolutely unbelievable. One of them are under 20 All Ireland, are they? But I think Tyrone's got a good chance, but I'd be very confident it's coming to Ulster regardless.
The Tyrone Limerick double for the hurling and football now, that's the way to go. You probably get it 20-1 or something like that.
Nice. Fucking hell.
Be nice,
worth a touch.
We'll get this clip if it happens in. I was going to say September, but
I'll do it. I'll send it to you tomorrow. I'll do it.
I like it. Perfect. I like it. Right, Caolan, thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Any final thoughts before we go? Obviously, you're delighted with the PFL and everything, but like, if we were to talk it, maybe not this time next year, but November next year, what's the hope? What's the whole, like, the belt, the money, the $1 million, the whole lot?
Absolutely 100%. Absolutely 100%. That's the way I say it. I've got 18 months to. I say if that's European thing, probably won't happen. But the way I see it is then 5 fights, 2 showcase fights, and 3 fights to completely change my life, make about $1 million and win a world title. I've got a full new lease of life with this game. It's there. It's literally life changing. 18 months in front of me if I want it,
I can't wait to see you, Caolan. Best of luck with everything. I really appreciate the time today, and we'll be talking to you again before the next fight.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Beautiful.